question for the rest of America. Does anyone even care about Nebraska? Does anyone even care?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we break down the biggest stories, the controversies and the conversations shaping our world. If you are new here, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Today we are diving into a story that has Nebraska and the entire country talking. Nebraska's economy is heavily dependent on agriculture, but here's the catch. Over 70% of the labor force in their farms is made up of undocumented immigrants, and now the very policy they voted for could be downfall of their farming industry. Imagine this, you vote for policy that promised to crack down on immigration, but then you states realize too late that those same workers were the backbone of your farms, your economy and your food supply. That's a reality Nebraska is facing right now, and the internet is having a field day with it. In this video, we will break down what is happening, why it matters, and the heated reaction from farmers, economists, and everyday Americans. Some are sympathetic, others say you reap what you sow. But the real question is what's happening next? So let's get into it. Is Nebraska facing an economic collapse? Will this change how people vote in the future? And what does this mean for food prices across America? Stick around and let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Are you surprised of this outcome? Do you think Nebraska should have seen this coming? And most importantly, how should let's get started.
State of Nebraska has fucked around and found out as they are ready to go bankrupt in the next 6 months. Their state's economy relies heavily on agriculture, and over 70% of their workforce is from undocumented immigrants. Knowing this, they voted for Trump, hoping that he would get rid of the undocumented immigrants. And now they are severely understaffed across the entire state, unable to find enough workers to replace the undocumented immigrants who supplied their state with enough workforce. This is the find out stage of fuck around and find out. In the next 6 months, the state of Nebraska will be entirely bankrupt, unable to support itself, and be looking for a bailout from the federal government. All because they let their racism and hate towards immigrants be more important than their economic livelihoods. There's nothing to feel bad about here. They voted for this. They knew exactly what they were voting for. Now they have what they wanted. Let's see how it turns out for them.
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are going to go bankrupt now. We are going to go bankrupt. And yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported and he was coming after immigrants, yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
Do you care about Nebraska? Because I have a feeling you voted for this. I mean, Nebraskans don't even care about Nebraska. Let me ask you another question. Who exactly did you think were going to work in the fields and in the farms after all of the regular day laborers, people of color, are no longer there anymore? Who did you think was going to do it? Did you think that there was just this army of white workers ready to get into those farms and pick all the vegetables? Now people like you who voted for this to happen are upset that something's affecting you, because what people like you tend to really vote for, it's not the economy. It's because you want to express racism and bigotry, and he was the only way that you could do that. But now it's affecting you. All those farms are disappearing, including that 300-year-old farm. And you want to know why nobody's upset at that? It's because you guys did it to yourself. You'd rather vote to have your racism easily spread across the United States instead of thinking about yourself, because you always vote against your own interests, don't you? And isn't it just like you? You voted to hurt other people, but now when it's starting to hurt you, you want us to feel sympathetic for you. Get the fuck out of here.
I guess you should have raked the forest. I guess old dear leader should go up north and turn the water on, right? This is what you wanted. This is literally what you wanted. The only people I feel bad for are the small handful of blue dots in that state, because they didn't ask to suffer alongside the idiots who voted for this. This is what you wanted. This is what you get. Now, as you all used to say, or say all the time, this must be God's will. So suck it up, buttercup.
Since the election, everyone has reminded me that I thought Kamala Harris was going to win. Everyone has reminded me that she didn't win and Donald Trump won. I've seen it over and over and over again. But what I also said was, if Donald Trump did win, it would be a disaster for farmers and oil workers. Because last time Donald Trump was president, it was a disaster for farmers and oil workers. Now, he really hasn't gotten to oil workers yet. But hey, farmers, how you doing? Yeah, you see, the last time Donald Trump was president, over 100,000 farms went belly up in America. So here he runs for president again, and what do you farmers do? Yeah, you vote for him again. And I don't understand why, but it's one of those cases where you effed around, and now you're going to find out again. Because apparently he didn't do enough damage the first time. You wanted to see it a second time. So here we are.
Here's everything that happened while we were on the clock. Farmers and meat producers face billions in losses from new tariffs. Higher prices are likely for consumers. Representative Sylvester Turner dies at 70. Private employers add just 77,000 jobs in February, well below expectations. Winter storm warnings in 23 states with up to 2 feet of snow expected. IRS plans to cut workforce by 45,000. Novo Nordisk to offer cheaper Wegovy via online pharmacy. Democratic mayors face off with Congress over sanctuary cities. U.S. halts intelligence sharing Ukraine uses for Russia strikes. Commerce chief says that bad economy data is Biden's data and Trump will fix it. Supreme Court waives Texas nuclear waste storage dispute. China's ready for any type of war with the United States after tariffs. Trump admin plans to cut 80,000 Veterans Affairs jobs. U.S. Civil Service Board reinstates thousands of fired USDA workers. Trump speaks with GM, Ford CEOs and Trudeau on tariff delay. Trump grants automakers 1-month tariff exemption. State Department shuts down global air pollution monitoring. Florida opens criminal probe into the Tate brothers. Greenland's prime minister rejects sale as Trump seeks control one way or the other. U.S. suspends costly military deportation flights. Warby Parker fined $1.5 million for data breach. Supreme Court says that Trump administration must unfreeze foreign aid. And that's everything that happened while we were on the clock.
Well, in today's episode of F Around and Find Out MAGA edition, cattle ranchers in the state of Nebraska who voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump fear the impact on their businesses when Donald Trump implements his mass deportation program that he campaigned on for almost 2 years, that they voted for. And now they're realizing that if he actually implements it, they'll go bankrupt. He told you for almost 2 years that he was going to deport 20 million Hispanic, Latino, undocumented immigrants living and working in the United States. You voted for that. And as cattle ranchers in the state of Nebraska, your business and your profitability depends and relies on undocumented immigrant workers who are now going to be deported by the guy that you voted for who said he was going to do that. How dumb are you people?
Of all the locations in America, I would have never thought the pull yourself up by your bootstrap Nebraskan hard-working farmers would be asking the rest of us for help. It's very coincidental and ironic that the people who constantly refuse to believe that there are circumstances outside of the control of an individual are now in the midst of circumstances vastly outside of their control due to their own ballot box decision, however. But I digress. I feel for you. There's a lot of people in this world that have systems of oppression that affect them negatively. And when those people told you all, hey, this is going to get worse for more people if we elect him, you didn't believe us. And you just did it anyway. So now that you're in the find out phase, it's hard to have a deep pool of empathy for you. I'm not going to lie. Especially over the last 30 years of my life, every time I heard there was a problem in some region of anything, it was pick yourself up by your bootstraps from people like yourself. Be a harder worker. Don't be lazy. Not that that's the real aspect of what's going on, but wow, do y'all turncoat on your thought process there real quick when it's you who can't pick yourself up by your own bootstraps.
Nope. Since y'all overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump, the only people who I sympathize in Nebraska are people who did not vote for Donald Trump. And they are fully aware of what's going to happen because of his terror. But for everybody else in your state, nah, we ain't got no sympathy for you. Because y'all didn't learn your lesson the first time when Trump did his terrorist during his first administration. And y'all let your bigotry, hatred, xenophobia, racism, transphobia blind you. And apparently y'all state is going to go broke in a couple of months. So, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And what's even worse, when the families lose their farms left and right, y'all still gonna vote for Donald Trump. You're still gonna support Donald Trump. You're gonna blame Democrats. You're still gonna blame migrant workers. The only people, like I said earlier, are the farmers, the very select few farmers who did not vote for Donald Trump, who voted for Harris, who knew what's gonna happen. They're the only ones who get sympathy. Everybody else, nah. You got what you wanted. Congratulations.
I cannot believe that my family farm and my home state of Nebraska are going to be flat broke within 6 months. I cannot believe this is happening. I cannot believe that the undocumented workers who basically drive our entire agricultural economy just got up and left. They just left. Why? Because we voted for Trump? Because we voted to have them torn from their homes in the middle of the night by ICE because we wanted to see their families ripped apart because we don't like brown people, so they just abandoned us in our hour of need before we were able to like replace them with, I don't know, like white teenagers or something like that, you know, like before we were able to identify and employ an entire demographic of people who's willing to make less than minimum wage for terrible working conditions. I can't believe this is happening. If only somebody had told us that this was a possibility. If only somebody like Kamala Harris or Tim Walz or Bernie Sanders or any of the liberal politicians, Jasmine Crockett, Gavin Newsom from California, or, you know, almost every major media outlet, or every economist in the nation, or all of the liberals. If only somebody had told us that undocumented workers are absolutely vital to the existence of our agricultural industry. If only somebody had said that 1,000 times, day after fucking day. If only somebody had said Hey, they're not replaceable because white American teenagers do not want to work for slave labor wages in the fields in the hot sun. They are not going to be replaceable. If only someone had said that repeatedly through a megaphone for literally a year. If only somebody had said that using your vote as a stick with which to beat undocumented minorities might be a bad idea. Because we've come to rely on them, haven't we? Yeah. If only someone had said that. Maybe someone would give a shit, you know? Good luck, though.
Alright, let's get straight into it. Nebraska has officially entered the find out phase of fuck around and find out, and honestly, it's almost poetic. For years, Nebraska, like many red states, has depended heavily on undocumented immigrant labor to keep its economy running. Over 70% of Nebraska agricultural workforce consists of undocumented workers. The state's entire agricultural system, from cattle ranching to corn and soap production, has been built on the backs of these workers, and yet Nebraska voters overwhelmingly supported the candidate who promised mass deportations, and now they are seeing the consequences of their own choices unfold right in front of them. See, this isn't just some abstract political issue. This is about real-world economies. Farms in Nebraska rely on cheap labor to stay profitable. It's breaking underpay work that most American citizens don't want to do. The solution should have been obvious: protect the workforce that sustains the industry, but no, Nebraska wanted to crack down on illegal immigration, ignoring the fact that their own economy would collapse without these workers. And now that collapse is coming faster than anyone expected. Reports are coming in that farmers across Nebraska are struggling to function due to several labor shortage. Meatpacking plants, which also rely on undocumented workers, are operating below capacity. Crops are rotting in the fields because there is no one to pick them. Prices are rising, profits are tanking, and now these same Nebraska farmers are looking around, wondering what went wrong. Let me break it down for you. You cannot simultaneously run an economy that depends on undocumented immigrant labor while also voting to deport the very people who keep it afloat. It's basic logic, but for some reason, Nebraskans thought they could have it both ways. They thought they could vote for Trump's mass deportation agenda and somehow not to be affected. Maybe they thought American teenagers would suddenly line up to do farm labor in 100-degree weather for minimum wage. Maybe they thought unemployed white workers would flood the job market to replace the people they wanted gone. Spoiler alert, that is not happening. And the reactions, oh, they are golden. Some Nebraskans are outright panicking. You have cattle reachers openly admitting that if Trump follows through on his deportation plan, their entire business model collapses. You have farmers begging for help because they can't harvest their crops. But you know what you don't hear? You don't hear a lot of them admitting that they screw up. No. Instead, they are looking for someone else to blame. Maybe they will blame Biden. Maybe they will blame the Democrats. Maybe they will blame the immigrants themselves for leaving instead of being deported. But they won't look into the mirror and admit that they voted for their own destruction. This isn't the first time we have seen this happen. The last time Trump was in office, his trade war with China devastated American farmers. Over 100,000 farms went bankrupt. He had to bail them out with taxpayer money, but guess what? When election season rolled around again, they still voted for him, and now history is repeating itself. Only this time there is no guarantee that there will be another bailout waiting for them. And let's be real, do you think the rest of America is going to care? Because I don't think so. When Texas froze over and millions lost power because of their own deregulated energy grid, the rest of the country didn't exactly rally behind them with sympathy. When Florida's insurance market collapsed because they kept electing leaders who ignored climate change and let the industry get out of control, people say, well, you voted for this. And now Nebraska is going broke because they choose bigotry over their own economic survival. Do you think the rest of America is going to care? That is the thing about this moment. It's not just about Nebraska, it's about the larger thread of red states consistently voting against their own best interests and then expecting blue states or the federal government to bail them out when shit hits the fan. And I guarantee you, when Nebraska inevitably goes bankrupt, When their farming industry collapses and their tax revenue dries up, they are going to come running to the federal government looking for a handout. And I hope for once the answer is no. You wanted this, you fought for this, now you can deal with it. The irony is too much. These are the same people who scream about self-reliance, who tell poor people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Well, Nebraska, it's time for you to do the same. No more government bailout, no more handout, no more blue states bailing you out while you continue to trash talk them. You wanted mass deportation, congratulations, you got them. Now let's see if you can run your farms without the workers you just chased away. And before jump in with the not all Baraski's argument, let me be clear. Yes, I feel bad for the small handful of people in Nebraska who saw this coming and tried to warn everyone, but unfortunately they are stuck suffering alongside the majority who made this choice. It's unfair, but that is how democracy works. When the majority makes a bad decision, everyone suffers. So what happened next? Best case scenario, Nebraska starts to be backpedal hard. Maybe they start begging for visa programs. Maybe they suddenly discover that they need immigrant labor after all. Worst case scenario, they double down, blame everyone but themselves, and continue their downward spiral in economic collapse. Either way, it's going to be an interesting few months. And on that note, let's wrap this up. What do you think? Do you feel bad for Nebraska, or do you think they deserve what is coming? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and I will see you in the next one.